making the 3 hours on their shorter, but you visit and you makes it go faster. They always get a little giggle out of that. Okay, it's just a way to connect. Now, the reason why I said follow up with the ones that have agents is because all you're doing is just calling and saying thank you for coming to the open house. Now, if they allow the conversation to open up, just be friendly. Thank you. Just be friendly and say, also how many offers have you written? Also, just kind of like find out about what they're, where are they at, right, in the experience of buying time. And also, ask them, have you made any offers? Have you, what houses have you seen? Maybe I see them too. And some of them might even tell you, oh, well, I just opened extra. And you congratulate them. And you tell them, oh, how long is your escrow for? When are you going to close? Why? Because you're going to make a note on your calendar and you're going to say, well, I want to call you to congratulate you when you close. You're going to be there all the step of the way. Why? Because relationships go sideways. Every kind of relationship goes sideways. And you never know. I have had, just simply because I was friendly, just simply because I decided to follow up, just because I called to follow up to congratulate them on the possibly closing, guess what they say when I call a month later to congratulate them? At least 3 so far. Okay, they have said the whole thing followed tomorrow. I'm so disappointed. I'm ready to set up with the agent. I'm telling him he did a good job and this and that, and he's just going to be there to listen. You. Okay, you're not doing it with the intention of stealing a client. Okay. Remember, this business is about relationships. And if you remember anything about doing open houses, is that you can do as many open houses as you want. If you don't follow up with every single lead, you waste your time. And I always say, spend it with your family. So, for being a nice guy or a nice gal to them, being friendly, how about if that agent, let's say that it didn't cancel, let's say that they went through and you were there for them to say, wow, congratulations. Where did you end up buying? I'm gonna get the address. Okay? Because they just became a seller. Right? We don't know when, but they literally just became a seller. And if you look at it from that perspective, you just added one potential future seller to your database. And what do? You put them on the system, right? You put them on the 36 budget. Nothing unethical about that. You just simply you establish a relationship with the closing of their escrow. The chances are that agent that closed the transaction with them is not going to follow up. A lot of agents don't follow up with the clients after they close. Imagine who you think they're going to remember 2, 3, 7 years from now when it comes time to sell. You've always been there all the step of the way, right? So anyway, I just wanted to ask that. Anybody else who wants to share about an open house and follow-up experiences? Yes.
It was interesting, this open house I had on Sunday. It was a property in a busy avenue in park in front. 3 teenagers came over to see the property and they asked if they can see around the house, and okay, it's fine. So I said I entrance, so we decided how to read it. So I told them they were about to leave. And I was like, where's your other friend? Oh, somewhere. So I saw the door of the restaurant closed. And I'm like, is your friend inside the restaurant? And they're like, yes. Well, ask him, tell him that this is not a public restaurant. He needs to come. So it is that I'm gonna share this experience with you guys. Next time, if I see teenagers like that, they're not allowed to come without a boat, right? If I don't know if it's something in the restaurant,
or just keep a close eye on them and, that way you can. Remember, don't just let people wander around the property. It was a vacant property?
Yes,
Yeah, that's a little better,
yeah,
but especially when the property is occupied and
yeah,
in little groups like that, come, just, and you just have to be polite, nice, but take control. I said, I'm sorry, if you guys want to see it, we need to stay together and I'm gonna show you. Like that. Nice and firm,
okay,
show you, take control. Okay, the house was empty, if nobody else was there, I said, well, same thing, just keep them together and let's show you the property. Because otherwise, yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Right? And the last thing you want is any kind of liability with, young people. So today, what we're gonna be, talking about buyers and sellers, and the one thing you do get from, open houses is buyers and sellers. The open houses is not just to find buyers. Remember, until 2020, my business of listings and buyers was built totally out of open houses. Okay, COVID made me change. And that's why, ended up focusing more on my database, on people that I have not contacted yet, and also on the credit business. And now it's actually has shifted to about 70% of listings and 30% of buyers. But the power of meeting people open house, and that's why, especially you guys being new, that will be the fastest way. If you don't, let's say you don't have an extensive database, okay, let's say you don't come with, 2,000-3,000 people on your phone to transfer to command. That's a good way to build it. Doing open houses. And you're in a door knock, okay? Because when you door knock, you're inviting people over so you can meet the neighbors even more. And what are neighbors? If they're not renters, they're future sellers. Right? And you label it like that. You keep, and the reason why I'm saying this again is you keep your database organized from the beginning. You take me, trust me, you're gonna take me down the line in the future. If you do it, you're gonna appreciate it because you're gonna get a lot more. Okay, so this is the this right here. The 3 levels of service, and then this, by the way, applies to buyers and sellers. Purpose, the value proposition and fiduciary. What is your purpose towards your client? And then again, what value are you going to provide? Remember, why do people do business with us? 2 things. Trust you. So they will engage with you because they like you and because they trust you. And you can have that literally based on the relationship that you have had, that's the people that you grew up with, based on the neighbors that know you that you're a good person. And then so it's a long time relationship, right? And so they have learned to know who you are, and they have learned to trust you. When you meet people for the first time, let's say at an open house or a line in the market or anywhere where you meet people, how do you get them to instantly, right? No, I mean, imagine we meet for the first time, right? What will give you the sense that you can trust them?
Just like listening and
Mhm.
like asking questions.
Well, let me ask you something. If I come to you, talking to you like this, would I look like nice?
No.
Right? But how about just a simple, hey, how you doing? Aaron,
Like,
so a simple smile, right, can translate that, or can make that to be trust. You can't be trusted if you look edgy or to be Remember, and then the open house class, I always talk about energy. I talk about being on the, whenever I'm really, like, because I get really tense in my neck. My son does this too, it's funny, but, I do this. Just like to loosen up, not in front of people, it's kind of weird, but, just for myself. And that's just like, you have to be informed. Okay, and that goes into where the moment you're gonna go meet with a buyer, the moment you're gonna go meet with a seller, and the moment you're gonna be in display. Because you are in display at an open house. Okay, when people walk in, which is funny, right? Because normally it's the other way around, whoever's coming into your house is like, do I trust them or not? But when you're at an open house, what happens? Those people are coming in, and now they're looking at you if they can trust you or not. So how we show up, right? How we present ourselves, how we interact, that's what's going to do it. So the other, that's just to engage, by the way. And you only have literally less than 10 seconds to accomplish that. That's just in the initial, they walk to the door and you're just like, hi. Now it's time to perform. Because just because they like you and trust you, that doesn't mean you're gonna make sense. Right? For them to work with you. What is the value proposition? What are you gonna do for them? What are you offering? How? This is not the response today, but this is something to actually really think about. How or why? If they go to 5 open houses that day, why should they remember you? Why should they like you? And why out of the 5 people trust you? And if it's the first time, by the way, if it's the first time that they're coming out, they're gonna select, they're gonna choose something. That's why when I ask, oh, so kind of like, where are you in the process? Have you seen a lot of properties? Oh no, we're just getting started. Not good for because they're out for the grab. They might like somebody that day that they're out looking for properties. Because if they don't have an agent, you better work everything you got going to make sure that you are that agent. So what do you do to be memorable? What things? Oh, actually, no. What can you do to be memorable? They say they go to 5 open houses. Why you? Yes.
One of the great techniques or tips that I've heard, and you might have said this too before, is having a really good open dialogue with them and finding out where they are in the process, getting their information and following up immediately, almost having a list of like what's open, in the area, ask them if they've seen it, follow up with them, ask them, would you like me to walk you through this? Is there any other appointments that I could make for you? Have you seen this other property? A lot of agents, I think, when you walk into their open house, they maybe ask you to sign in, maybe they don't, especially if they're with another agent, being represented, they maybe not push that part of it. But I love what you said about it can go sideways, and you still will be in communication with them, making them an asset and ally, later on. They're going to remember when you're following up and you've got a really nice, friendly tone, and you are going at it your way to really help them, shortcut that process, because otherwise they're just doing it the old-fashioned way, driving around in a car, looking for open houses, seeing what they see, when you can lead them right to the well to drink. Right to them.
So what else? What else? What else we can
Be personable.
do? Yeah, I mean, if you make people smile, you make them feel good. See, people don't remember people. People don't remember how people make them feel. Why do they trust you? Because they feel safe. Why do they like you? Because you show up like them. Right? So how That's memorable. Another thing is, the question about where are you in the process? Okay. One of the very effective questions that you can ask is, by the way, has anybody taken the time to go buy this? I offer a free consultation at the end. You can actually take this beautiful book. Taking out a simple at the open house. And I said, can we really get to go through the map every step of the way, what it takes to buy a home? Is that different? Right? You don't give it to them right there, it's never gonna see it. This is just but you're gonna have your own when you meet with them. Okay. The second part is I always tell them that either myself or my assistant will follow up to say thank you for coming. It's just something we do. That way, when you call them, they're gonna remember that you told them you're gonna. Oh, my God, if they have a kid or a baby, acknowledge them, ask the name. But more important, if they have a dog, if they have a pet, ask what the name of the pet is, because you touched their heart at that point. It's important. So that's going to be significant. So that's your value proposition, right? The value proposition is that you actually care. And you don't have just a commission brand. You're not just out to get paid. Can somebody define fiduciary for me? What's fiduciary? I think we went through that recently at one of the meetings. Okay.
It's really to your client, whether it be a buyer or seller, that you have their best interest.
Correct. It means that everything you do, you're gonna do it for the client's interest, not for your own. Okay, and that has to do with when you do inspections, that has to just do with doing your work thoroughly. Okay, not just to close the transaction, but make sure that your client ends up with the best home, or that your client sells their home for the best price or best term. Fiduciary, so like an attorney, right? An attorney has fiduciary to their clients, that they're going to defend them to the best of their abilities. Well, our agreement, or our license, when we are licensed, is that we are going to represent our clients to the best of our abilities. So our abilities are very good. Yes.
So if you have, if you're the seller's agent of a buyer, and you are double ending this deal, your duty is to the seller, not to the buyer.
Okay. And that's why people get in trouble in this business when they do dual representation. You also now do have fiduciary to the buyer. The problem is that you're not going to compromise one over the other. So you need to be even more ethical and more transparent with it. And don't get me wrong, I love any transactions, and I usually do at least 3 or 4 a year. But it's a very fine line. And that's when somebody comes to me, right? I have a listing, the listing is overpriced, there's a bunch of people that come in because they're gonna get multiple offers. There's always that person that comes in. Goes into the corner and says, I get you what you're saying, can you get me this property? Okay. What they're asking you for is, at times, is very obvious, right? And at that moment, you start setting up boundaries. At that moment, you actually tell them, you know what? Yes, I can definitely represent you on this transaction. This is the only advantage you're going to have in order buyers. And that is that you will be able to know at the end what price you will take to get. Why? I have the best interest of my client. I have the best interest of him. If he wants the property really bad, he can have it, but it's going to be at the price, at the right price, not without putting some offers under the table. Okay? So, and be very careful how you say that. Because especially investors, they can be very, very pushy. Okay? So that's why when you're representing a buyer, make sure that they make an offer that is somewhat separated from the price. Not $100, not $500, something worth. Because remember, the strength of an offer is not always a price, right? So you have to make sure you can actually justify it. And that is why this is something I just do. I'm not saying do it. I always say like this because, you know, signing reviews. But to me, whenever I have a listing, okay, I put it on the contract that if I secure the buyer for the listing, my client automatically gets half the point. Why do I do that? To further distance the interest of myself, making it better for them, and also if in case there's any kind of dispute of like 500 or 50 or $2,000 difference. Okay. It's just something I do. To me, it's like it's a win-win. I still more than practically double my commission. Okay. Not everybody has to do it. To me, it's not. I always get a smile. I always get a smile and I get less assistance into what I'm charging for this. I don't matter. So definitely a good thing. So this right here. Learn. Have it present at all times and you'll stay under control. Okay. The lack of will have you or will you can easily lose your license. Okay. And I will never jeopardize my my career because that's what it is. Because let me see. So this is where we're going to be spending most of the time. The transaction process. When in this business, okay, it's hard enough to get a client. But just because you open escrow, don't go spending. Please don't go spending. Okay, because every little step of the way, there's a potential. One thing I learned about this business that is never done until it's you deposit that check into your bank. Okay, because everything includes like a step up. I have had this last month. I had 2 cancellations in a buyer backing out for craziest reason. Okay, so it's always important to make sure that you let them know where they are in the process and that you understand where you are in the process. Okay, so very easy. You're working with a buyer. I said it before. Don't start driving around burning gas and going to all places without getting them pre-approved. What is the first step after you meet a prospect or buyer? What should be the next step? Okay. Okay. So what? The presentation. What else? Have anybody taken the time to go, to review the process of buying a property? What is that called? A buyer's consultation. During the buyer consultation is when you like literally indoctrinate them into how things are going to go down. Because if you don't, my experience, and I can only speak from my experience, is that whenever I sit people down and I review this information. And most of the time, I have the vendor either right before or right after, depending on the availability. Okay? And so I do that, I really don't have a plan. Representation agreement, yes, absolutely, super important. Okay? I'm not saying no. I just. If they want to get out of it. So to me, I do work in the front to making sure that these people know and have a relationship with me. Okay, and then when they come to meet with me, they're my client, and that they're clear about that. Remember what I tell you? Something else I shared with you before is that the moment they leave the office, the moment they leave my meeting, that's why I ordered this by the thousands. They have a lease anywhere from 5 to 10 of my cards. Because I tell them, right here, this is your ticket to the next open house. When they go to an open house, they don't have to sign it anymore. Oh, here's my agent's card. That's another little trick that is pretty more cards. Okay, and give them to the people that you meet with. Now, if you want to make it a habit, it's a great and good, and I encourage you. Get a representation of it. And you're gonna see that there's different people that can do that. Great, I'm all for it. Okay, so you get it pre-approved. Here, when you're working with in real estate, you have to always feel like any older agent is your partner. And the reason why, okay, is that you never know when they're going to have the property that you need. So you never burn any bridges. You always play nice. Because remember, this entire business with clients, contractors, vendors, everything is well. Our relationship. And when you see it from that perspective, it's super important. Okay, so what do you understand by a set of clear search criteria?
Exactly. And that is
And when did you find that out?
buyer's consultation.
During the buyer's consultation. Okay, during the buyer's consultation, I asked them, how does your house look like? How does your future house look? Picture. From the moment you see it, how does it look? How does the front look? What's the curvature? You walk in, how does it look there? Is it an open concept? So, and that way, you're actually going to have a very clear picture. But a lot of people, by people being agents, they go ahead and get all that information. Okay, they go to the MLS and they put, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, whatever the plan said, right? But they never get. Oh, and then they go ahead and put them on a script, right? You're going to get emails whenever a property pops up with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's going to be emailed to the client. And I always share this on your, and if you don't know what it is, ask your mentor. Use the concierge setup on the MLS. And the reason why is because just because you get a very clear picture of what they want, that doesn't mean that that's what they're getting from it. And you lose value when you're not precise. Because if I'm your client, right, you're sending me properties, but I have to go through 10 properties to see one that I like. Are you doing your job? Not according to me. I don't want to go through 10 properties to see what I want. I told you I want turnkey. I told you that I want an open concept. I told you that I wanted a front and backyard. How can you avoid sending 10 properties when there's only one property within those 10 that apply to your plan? If you use concierge, okay? What you're gonna do is, you're gonna have a, let me. Probably not. By the way, the only reason why normally I don't like to go into the systems because it takes too long. And today in advance, I'm letting you know I'm gonna have the class at 1. But this is so important to me, and the reason, why I want to show it to you. Hope it works. If I have everything set up on my computer that automatically goes in. It did. Okay. So this is so important. And that's what I'm gonna spend a little bit of time to show you this. Sure, right. Okay, so this is concierge right here. So this morning, I haven't had a chance to look at the at the clients that actually have properties. Okay. So I have Ruth Garcia. All these people right here, there's probably, look, this is actually a very important one that I'm working with right now. So there's this property. They're definitely looking for a pool, okay? But they want more of a modern look. This looks more Spanish. Yep. That's a yard, has stuff. But this doesn't look modern. It looks more like Mediterranean, between Mediterranean and Spanish. So because what a concierge does is before the properties get sent to your client, you actually get to review them and approve them. Now, if you remember the conversation with the client, you're gonna know what they're looking for. So now instead of sending them, let me see if one of them has more than. Well, everybody only has 1, but normally there could be like 4, it could be 5 properties here. So this is part of one of my routines. Okay, that I actually look at these properties before I send them out. This client's actually looking at a Bakersfield. You know, they're looking for a fixer. Does this look like a fixer to you? Oh yeah. So I approve it and send it to them. When they look at it, by the way, right here it tells you who has looked at properties most recently. Okay. So, and if I see something that really matches what they told me yesterday, I get on the phone and it gives me a reason to follow up. Okay. Now, and the company that kept my class a little bit, let's find out what the engagement is. I see somebody, let's say Priscilla saw the property, right? So I'll go ahead and refresh my memory with the property, which and I will either text or call Priscilla and say, by the way, did you get a chance to see that property I sent you on Sunday? And I'll know where I'm at with them if they say, no, I haven't seen it yet. Well, I know they did. Right? So you know you need to kind of maybe bring a little closer. There's a little disconnect. They're not communicating truthfully. It's a way to check the temperature with your clients. So that's why I like this tool so much. And the way you do it, okay, let's say you're gonna do I'm gonna look for a property here. In Torrance. So let's say I want to send them this property or this list of properties. Let's say that those are the ones that they're looking for, meets the criteria. So I will go here and say, just like you would do a regular, person that you put on the MLS, right? And you do new auto email. Now you're gonna select the name. My wife and I are on the market, so we are, and then let's say I select me because that way I can go back and erase it. And then just put properties available, right? When you come down here where it shows you the schedule, this right here tells you when you want to send. You want to send them ASAP when they come? Because they're going to be getting emails in the middle of the night if that's when the property shows up. Or any time during the day. And if 5 properties that meet the criteria come up, they're going to get 5 emails, okay, in one day. Whenever you get too much of something, it becomes a nuisance. So people might not even look at it, okay? So there's one little button that you have to press, because here you can say the time, you can set one time a week, or every other day, whatever, right? You can set a schedule. What I do is I press this little button that says here, enable concierge. That's the only difference between what you can do. If you're doing this, great. And then save it and go to approve. You have to approve the properties now. Click that, go back home. And I should be here. Well, I guess because I didn't select them, I didn't choose select it. So 49 properties are available. So here, I go open up, and now I can take a quick peek, right? What they're gonna be looking at. And if some of these properties don't match, oh, this is a nice house. Oh, sorry, I'm shopping. No. So, I mean, that's a nice house. Not that one, but, so here you say, as you're viewing them, you can mark them or select them, right? This one, yes, that one, no, this one. And here, you can either reject or you can approve to be sent. So let's say I like those, we're gonna send them. Okay, the other ones, I'm gonna reject. So I'm done from that. Now, if I was to go to my email and open that, this will lit up right here, saying that I just looked at the problem. So, and there's a whole bunch of people that I'm sending property to. So that's how I do some follow-up. Well, and at least I'm just calling them to say, hey, I'm calling to catch up. I hate that. Whenever people say, I'm calling to catch up. Well, just checking in. No, you want to sound a little more precise. By the way, did you see that property in George actually? That kind of makes some of the points you were telling, because I have the notes right here. Right? Do you think that is that valid? Is that a good proposition? And I tell my clients when I meet with them, by the way, I'm going to look at every property I send. Does it sound like I'm earning my commission? But if they call you, right? Because if you do it the other way, you don't see this. You don't see it. You don't see if they sold. You don't see if they that they got that property. So they get it automatically, right? And all of a sudden you get a phone call. Hey, Aaron, I'm calling you about the property you sent me. Which one? What's the address? Does that sound professional? Does that sound like you're doing your work? Please implement this immediately with everybody. It just, yes. Sometimes I have literally like 15. Sometimes I have like 15 people here. But the amount I spend reviewing this property, after a while, you should know, right? You know what the clients want and you just go through. But that right there gives me a reason to have my contacts done my calls done. And I'm actually talking with people that are ready to go. And of course, they know I'm working. They know that I'm earning my commission. So if you're not doing this, please remember that, okay? And by the way, the, no, I won't, because I'm gonna go in a rabbit hole with that. But, there's just so many, little things to show you value. Oh, like to do. And I always say this. If you don't have a client, okay? In the beginning, when you're getting started, I encourage you to go to 2-3 brokers open. Go check out, go see how it is. Then go get a client and go preview property for clients. Because I have a question for you. How many of you guys have been to brokers open? You know what brokers opens are? Yep. A broker open is for this area is on Thursday, and that is when the agents are getting new listings, showcase their properties to all the agents and all the brokers in the area. So they put an open house on Thursday from 4 to 2, and they say, brokers opening, all the agents can go, some people have food, some people have something to drink, it's just like a little party, okay? I want you to keep an eye out for top producers of brokers open. There's not a lot. Only the top producers are the ones holding the open house. People there got at least. Okay, so at least my recommendation, and you don't have to do it, it's just my suggestion, that is what I teach my agents, is that another way to show value is if you have a client and one of the properties that you send them looks just what they like, go to the brokerage open and check it out before they do an actual public open. Okay? And then you send them a video. And then you actually can call them from the, by the way, I'm looking at this property, I'm telling you that. That's the purpose of a brokerage open. Now, if it's the purpose of just go along for the ride, I will highly recommend you to spend those 2 or at least 2.5, and sometimes 3, because sometimes there's a party after that. Lead generate. Say nothing against what if you don't have a business. If you don't have a plan, you don't have a business. There's no business to the broker. It doesn't. It's nice, don't get me wrong, it's fun. But I'd rather spend it than. Okay, because that's where the money is. Anyway. So we're clear about having a certain criteria, right? And how we're gonna handle that from here on. And I can tell you that really works. And the reason why, and I guess that's also giving me well, I posted already, but the area that I watch too, where I see everything that comes out. Oh, you better believe at least once a day I click on that. And the reason why? Because sometimes this happens all the time. A client tells you, yeah, it needs to be within this area. But here's what happens when I open what's available. Well, I watch south of the 105 to the 710 over to the beach. To the water. That helps me stay up to date to what's in the market. Because that's what I consider my market. Don't get me wrong, for these things I go in. But that's the area that I consider be an expert. Okay. So when you're dealing with a client, I just met with you, right? You told me, no, it really needs to be from, Sepulveda, South Frencha to this other street, and that's it. Wow. Well, there's not much difference between that, either north of Sepulveda or west of Frencha, right? If you're not watching the market, if you're not watching the other one, I have a lot of times happened where I see the property that they describe only that's on the other side. Are they gonna get it? They're not gonna get it unless they're looking at, Redfin or the app, if you're gonna give them your app. So what I do is, I dare to say, you know what? I was looking at other properties, and I saw this one, and boy, this one really looks like the one you described. We have to take a look. Often enough, it's the right thing, and just because you can lock yourself in the area, you can actually have a say. So just, now, that's just simply telling them, I never stopped working for you, right? Even when it's not, so constantly, you have to continue to be relevant. There's a reason why they're working with you. Why do you think that's good? Why is that important? There's always a slicker guy out there. Remember, the moment they're looking for a property, they always be, and why do you think I do the business structure? Okay, but I don't want the slick guy. This guy just got so much better than me. He has an open house and my clients go to them and they give him all the information. So the sweet talker now is calling them and telling them how great they are and they like him. And now they have a backup. They're waiting for me to screw up. They're waiting for me to slip a little. And they already got their guy. And that's what you constantly have to be relevant. Constantly have to be working, right? So very, very, very important. And I'm telling you, there's people, agents, offering stuff. Offering credits, offering this, I mean, they're just. And if it's not something you offer, they're like, well, something like. The 2,000 closing costs credit makes this guy look a lot smarter and nicer and everything, right? So, and that's what I'm saying, when you indoctrinate your client, you teach them all those things. Yeah, another thing, okay? People say, oh, well, if you see a property, just just let me know. But if you see a property, just go to the open house and let me know. What I say is different. What I say is, if you see a property, send me the address. Because guess what? And this happens, but this is not necessarily ethical, but it happens. Because the worst thing they can do is call the sign. Right? They call the sign and now they're talking to the listing agent. And they're a buyer. And the buyer's pre-approved. And the buyer's ready to go. Well, if you really want to get the property, this happened to me, 1.48, almost 1.5. Okay. I made the appointment. I actually took precautions. I call the agent, I send my clients information. Okay? And I send them to that property. The agent had the audacity of saying, if you want to get the property, there's a multiple opportunity. And that hurts. That's a 37 notification. So, and I don't mean it in dollars, but so all of a sudden, the client is like unresponsive. They're like completely ghosting me and nothing. But I'm one of those people that don't want to give up. Messages, text, what happened? Hey, did I do something wrong? Did I offend you in any way? I mean, just no. After they respond. And then they actually send me a nice email saying, well, remember that last property was that my wife, she really wanted a home. And I had no choice but to write it off with the agent because she said that's the only way to get. That was really weird. Okay, actually, I still know that. But I'm just saying, if you're not constantly putting out your valuable decision and how important they are to you, they can easily slip. And by the way, yes, the contracts will protect us, the buyers will and everything. Okay. But it's very simple. If they don't want to work with you, they don't want to work. So, all they have to do is go to broker and say, hey, I don't want that. What is the broker going to do? Well, the book, you have to work. If there's no property involved yet, very simple. It's simple. So that's why the only way to secure it is through a relation. That, I mean, and I mean, if it's, you know, break bread or anything that just builds. And the fact that you constantly letting them know, by the way, I'm looking here, I'm looking there, you know. Constantly working. Everything else is out for grabs. Okay. So let's look at some areas, because I want to jump in.
So there's no recourse, you know, for you on that deal, you know, they bypassed you, you showed them the property. You wanted them to see it. You can, they kind of got right in front of the very scrupulous, you know, listing agent. You know.
So yeah, we filed an amnesty. Okay, because I had the text, I had the confirmation of the appointment. Now you have to go to the board, in front of a committee, do this, do that. Now, if I wanted to sue, I could. The negativity of that in the business and all the, it's just not worth it. I mean, at least to me, it was. I literally stay away from it. Right, so, and the fact was that the letter from the client, I mean, it's, you know, they were doing what was best for their family. Wife probably killed them and go with it. So, I mean, you know, it's just, you made it sound like it was, and then you do it. So the client is not going to be on your side. First, because they got what they wanted, they did it, no one did. The fact that they ghosted me indicated that they felt bad. So to me, move next. You know, actually, my reward was that the next thing I got a call from somebody that had sold a property back in 2014. And I got that for 1.6 in double ended. And I felt, if I would have been busy doing all the other stuff, maybe I would have missed it. So it's not worth it. Remember? You know, so about the latest. Right here. Okay, so very, very sensitive. I mean, if you don't have clarity, or if you don't have a way to manage both relationships, go do it. Don't ever compromise yourself, because you compromise your livelihood, right, to your license and your career. It's no amount of money is worth that. It's like over time, I can make a whole lot more.
So if you were in a situation like that, could you offer it to somebody else in the office and like somebody who was in that situation, or if you have the broker?
You can, I mean, you can make it work for the other worthwhile for the other person. I mean, something like that, I would offer it to anybody. Do anybody do that for 50/50?
So like if
Heck yeah.
if the seller was like, no, I don't want you to do that at all.
Well, especially if the seller is doing that, yeah. But one thing that I go over when I take listing that one of the disclosures that goes in buying and selling is who agents. In the contract, right there on the first page, it says, you check the box, it says, there's a possibility of representing multiple parties. That's why whenever, if anybody ever asks, when you have a listing, are you representing any of the buyers? Absolutely. It's true, it's not at this time. I never say no. Okay? I just say not at this time, because you don't know in the process, you might end up getting representing something. But it's just, I mean, I don't find it complicated, because I'm very, I don't need confrontational, but I'm very clear and very secure about being able to communicate. Dude, we're not gonna do anything different that we have to go. The only, like I said, the only, I made it clear, the only evidence you're gonna get is the fact that it's 200,000, the top offer, and it's 205 to get it. No. Just you fiduciary to get the most for your plan, and you fiduciary for the plan to your buyer to get the property as well. Now, you're not telling us 250. Right? You just gotta do, because you have fiduciary to them to get also a good value. So it's just balance. Okay, so you're working with buyers and actually this is on my team meeting at 10. Sometimes you end up with clients that have a campaign taste with a beer budget. And what I mean by that is that, and that's why, by the way, it's super important to get it pre-approved before you show them any properties. Get it pre-approved before you show them any properties. Why? Because then they're gonna go and see properties over their budget. They're gonna fall in love with properties 200,000 over what they can afford. And when it's time to show them the ugly property, what's the big thing afford? It's gonna be hard to get into line. And that's what, and by the way, that's a conversation. That's setting expectations. Okay? I turn on the MLS of the buyer presentation and tell them, okay, so these are the kind of homes that you can get in the area that you want. Now, you want a nicer home for the same budget? We need to go to this. So, because otherwise, with buyers is you can waste a lot of time. It's a lot more work. Remember when we talk about working the difference between working with a buyer and having listings? So you can manage 10 listings, no problem, because you leverage the heck out of it. You have other people who open accounts, and all you do is just, manage that. But if you have 10 buyers and you have to show them all 10 in a week, the Looney House is the next stop. It's a lot of work. Yeah. So just be very clear about it. And by the way, you're buying a used home. You have to set expectations through inspection.
Tell them that, this is going to be your forever home. This is the home that's going to get you this year. Like this.
Correct.
Can't get what they want right away.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's an entry level. This is, one step to where you want to go. Absolutely. And that's just the way we do it. Time wise. Okay. When you talk to people, you talk to them, and you always point out where the information, and you also tell them to review it. Because in the 45 to an hour we spend with them, indoctrinating them, they're not going to remember anything. They're not going to know what inspection periods are. They're not going to know what contingencies are. They're not going to know it takes you 30 days. You have to get this, and that done. Okay? So you set expectations. If the market is tough, like actually in the last 3 weeks, the market has gotten so much higher. And several offers that we made, finally got one approved on Thursday. And because we were being outbid. And I'm talking about 60,000 over us. So, everything that's popping up right now. So setting expectation also has to do with if they're like an FHA buyer, okay? If they're like with any kind of program VA, you want to set expectations that anything that they come around you and that everybody else likes that they do. It's gonna go. And to top it off, anybody with a conventional, even 5%, is gonna be preferred to the method shading. So what do you do then? What would be setting good expectations or setting time expectations with people? The conversation that I have with them is this, because sometimes people, if they go the first time out and they see the right property, they're like, oh my God, first one that we see, we need to see more. They miss out, and they never find another house like that. Now they spend the next 3 months showing them property. Okay, so the setting expectations, time expectations is, by the way, do not be surprised if the first time you go out there, you find the right property. Because I take time looking at the properties that I send you, and when I actually set us a tour to show you properties, all those properties are gonna be kind of like what you like. Okay? So my experience is that my clients definitely find properties of good. You don't want to have that conversation when you're already out there. You want to remember doctrine. What is a doctrine? Something that something like, well, I call it program. You program it to what's coming. Why? Because I don't want, if I can be done in 1 tour, there's open answer, right? But if you didn't take the time to say that, the next thing you know, they'd be like, wow, there's someone, my cousin, my sister, my brother told me that I need to look at a lot of properties before I make an offer. Oh, that's not the way it's gonna go down with me. In a nice way to tell them. Okay. In the past, my clients have found properties first. Sometimes be the one and first property that I show. And it's true. Right? In your case, since you haven't sold or if you haven't done a lot of it, what you're telling us, okay, in our office, our clients are known for, finding properties in the first floor. Sometimes it could take a little more, but it's possible. So you're not lying. You're using the leveraging. Yeah. Yes. Well, in FHA and VA loan, a conventional loan is easier to, for inspections, easier for the appraisal, easier for a lot of different things. So a seller or a listing agent will always prefer, if they have multiple options, and they have a FHA with 3.5%, they have a VA with 0%, and they have a conventional for 5%, the conventional loan will always be a stronger offer. Okay, so the preference is going to go to that offer, and even if it's lower, you're going to try to get it on the phone. You're going to try to get it to be just right over the, and they will prefer it. In a nice way, you can explain that, because you don't want them to get disheartened when they keep putting offers, right? And they don't get accepted. So this is super important to set time expectations. They might take a little longer. Well, what could be a solution for that? If the market is really hot and everything that's coming on the market is like flying off the shelf, what could be a good solution? What do you guys do? Sorry, I'm still having my breakfast.
I would say maybe offering a little bit more, trying to find out where the seller's at, how many offers they have, what we're asking. Trying to feel out the listing agent, on that, because if it's price that is important to the seller, then I have to look at it first.
What else? Okay. When you have multiple offer situations, kind of tough.
Contingencies.
Well, it's just not overall. Okay, depending on where you are, or what kind of product you're using for your client. Okay, because, I'm a listing agent. And when I 12 offers in front of me. Okay. Conventional, 15, 20%, 25%. Off the table. Why? Because I have to be sure to my client, making sure they get the best term, they get the best offer, the strongest offer, and with their finance offer. Whatever, it's just what I should do. I'm not gonna leave the 25%, 21-day escrow and try to, I like parents. I appreciate it. But it's not my job to say, well, this guy, he's the lowest and has 0% down, and how is that fiduciary? Right? So the strength of the offers of most important. Now, a way that I actually like to do it, and everything I'm telling you is because it actually works, and I do it consistently, and that is, again, set expectations, set timeframes. I told them, I said, look, there's some properties that have been sitting on the market, and they're not getting any action. And why do properties sit on the market? Right? Oh, maybe they have the wrong color. The curb appeal is not that. Sometimes the curb appeal is, people don't want to look at it. Okay? But most of it is the price. So, and when you're on the listing side, I say, I can put you on the driver's seat because I can generate 8 to 12 offers on this property. Would you like that? Absolutely. But if you're in the situation that your property's been sitting for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and you're not getting anything, if you get a V8, if you get an FHA, offer it. You're gonna take a look at it. You don't have anything else, right? So what I do is I tell my clients, why don't we start looking at some of these properties that we see? Okay, and let's try those. We have a better chance. I mean, we still might have to pay top dollar, but do we have a chance of getting it accepted? We do, because we don't have any money. Okay, the cool part is that they're protected with the appraisal. Especially VA. Yeah, for sure. Well, because they, although they have the 3%, but if they have 0%, they they can't make out any difference, so it has to go by what the appraisal. Okay. That's a good way around all the competition, but when you go like second. So start looking at the property that has second buy. You want to go out of your way? You don't have. You're not working with 10 people and you have 5 listings, and you're not working with 10 buyers and 5 listings going on, then you have time. And what I would say is, just to even sound even more valuable and convincing is, instead of going on a broker's open, try to see which one has food and which one doesn't, go and start visiting those. Now you call your client. This property's been sitting here in there 40 days or more. But it really actually looks like you described it. When can you come see it? Is that going out of your way? Is that actually making an extra effort? So, and that's how you get your clients with less appealing